What's up, Jake? How you been?
Been good, man. How about you?
Good, man. What's up with all this weather? Is Florida surviving right now?
Florida's doing great.
Yeah. Have you guys been lucky? Because everywhere else is covered in snow. I saw Texas got a lot of snow and ice, and holy shit! Like I was talking shit because I said the winter up here was pretty mild, and all of a sudden the whole country just froze.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only person that's been saying that. But I mean, I'm all the way down south, so we
Right.
got a thunderstorm today, and that was it.
Yeah. Have you been doing a lot of fishing so far?
Yeah, I've been busy the last probably 6-7 weeks doing just pretty much every weekend doing something, tournaments or practicing for a tournament.
Isn't that ridiculous? I haven't even been on the water since October.
Yeah,
And like the lakes up here are frozen. Like who knows? Maybe mid March, early April, the water might. I mean, it'll still be cold. It'll still be like winter fishing, but like that'll probably be by the time I can get a kayak on the water.
that's cold though. Like I was up at Lake Seminole to practice mid-January, and one morning it was 28 degrees, and I was like thinking about not going out. I was so cold. I got bundled up, went out though, and ended up warming up. But I mean, for guys to go out there and it be like in the upper 30s or low 40s, and that's just normal. That's crazy.
Yeah, pushing ice chunks out of the way.
Yeah.
Like I remember, like last year, like early season, like I wanted to go. Like I was trying to be all crafty, like go out there on the one of the Great Lakes up here, Ontario. And I was gonna try to go out. It was like early spring. Most of the lakes were kind of thawed out, but still, like, there's still ice patches here. So I went out to this Great Lake, and I got out, and I got about like 40 feet out, and I realized like there was like icebergs and all kinds of stuff like still out there, like all over the place. And it was like cool video footage, because the water's like really blue, and it literally looked like icebergs. Because like the Great Lakes, what happens is like during the storms, the wind will keep pushing like the snow and ice on top of each other, so it builds up, and it looked like an iceberg, or I was like in like Antarctica or something like that. But it was stupid because the fish, there's no way I'm gonna fish that kind of shit. It's just ridiculous. But
you were out there in your kayak?
I was out there in my kayak. I thought, go out there and like try to find them schooled up or something. Because I remember some of the points and stuff like that. So I was gonna see if I could go find them like schooled up. And then it's like, no, there's just not like, I mean, real ice. Like I could have got out of my kayak. If I could get out of my kayak safely and got on, I could have like climbed an ice mountain. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's like legit Titanic versus iceberg out there, except Great Lakes.
It was dumb. Like, if something was to happen to me, like, I could be anywhere. I mean, I'm in a Great Lake. Like it's like no one's gonna find me. But shit, man. So one of the reasons I brought you on here, I saw you did Seminole, and like I love talking to people when they like don't do that great, or not necessarily don't do great, but when they don't win, and like they talk about like some like the struggles of tournament fishing. Because I think there's a lot, and I feel like most of us struggle more than what we let out to be. Because like only one person wins the tournament, and only 10 people place in the top 10, and the rest of us, we place where we place. And so I just want to see how you did, some of the things you did to prepare, actually how the tournament went, and just pick your brain about some stuff. But was that your first tournament of the season?
That was, I guess, technically my second tournament of the season. So I did the Kissimmee chain, the KBF Kissimmee chain, the weekend before that.
You did do that. That was cool. Did you meet Conrad?
Yeah. We got a beer after, and got to talk a bit. So
interesting character. I was really happy that he actually kind of showed up and did a decent job.
Yeah, he did great. He killed. I mean, he always, it doesn't matter. He can show up to a body of water. He's going to catch fish. He knows how to find them. He is a really good fisherman. And everybody gave him shit because he was all online tournaments. But you know what? He showed up and he got it done.
Nice. Well, how did the Kissimmee events do for you?
Oh, so bad.
So bad.
Yeah, so Kissimmee was tough. I went out there for like a day the week before. I really didn't practice much, and I was just like, Toho is my favorite lake to fish in Florida. So no matter what, I was just like, I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna go fish Toho and fish some spots that I know, and hope that they're biting there. And they weren't, so I caught a couple fish, but I mean nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I didn't even see you post anything about it.
It was not a good day. I mean, I went out, like I said, I had one day to practice, and I caught one good one in practice. It was just under 20 inches. So I was like, all right, so, they may be here. I'm going to come back to this spot. Cold front came through. I think they got pushed back off into like some offshore brush piles and stuff like that. And I was trying to fish some grass lines a little further up, and I just couldn't get on them.
Yeah. Well, what's fishing like this time of the year for Florida? I mean, I know I'm from there, but it's just been so long, and I've been up here for so long, and I know what real winters are now, and like Florida doesn't have real winters. They don't, it's weird. Like growing up there, like I remember being in like board shorts and sweatshirts during Christmas, and then I also remember sometimes it getting pretty cold, like 20, 30 degrees. But fishing, I never really did that much fishing in the winter. So, like, what do you think? Granted, you're also way further south than I was. I mean, does it get hard? Is it nonstop?
I go all over the place, but yeah. Man, it's I've had a hard time fishing this time of year. Like it seems like the spawn is happening for like 5 or 6 months here. Like it starts as early as November in some places, and it's going to go as long as May in some other places. And figuring out what part of the spawn they're in it's been really hard for me this year. And it seems like every time you think you've got something figured out, you've got fish schooled up, or you've got them staging to go spawn, like a cold front goes through and just kind of messes everything up. I don't have the free time to get on the water and follow them around when they start coming. So I'll go one weekend and I'll go out the next weekend and it'll be completely different, or I'll be on a different body of water that's 2 hours north, and they're not as far along in the spawning process as somewhere down south.
So when is your guys' like pre-spawn? Like when's it a really good time to go out there and catch a PR?
Right now.
Right now.
Yes, I mean, if you talk like south end of Lake Okeechobee, I mean, the spawn's been happening for at least a month now. If you're talking about like Lake Seminole, they're either pre-spawn right now or getting ready, gearing up to get into pre-spawn mode. Like it's still pretty cold up there. The water was down to the low 50s when we in the tournament, where at least where I was fishing.
Yes, that's warm water to me. That's up here. That's when they start moving up. Up here. That's when that's good fishing. Water tips up here. It's crazy how like granted they're all bass, but like it's relative to where they're at, like how their behavior when they do certain things. Because I mean, like last year, like it just hit. Like it was like I can't remember why. It was a cool day. It was like 48, 9-degree water temps in the morning, and there was a feeding frenzy. I think I caught like 3 or 4 19 inches like back to back. Like, if it would have been a tournament day, it would have been like that would have been my day. But it was just crazy because it's going out there. I was like, man, this is gonna suck. The water's cold. I'm cold. I'm geared up like my winter attire. I'm like, this sucks. I'm gonna go out there and drag a jig or drop whatever and get 2 bites. Maybe I'll catch a fish. And then when I got out there, I'm just launching chatterbaits. Just like I could not. I mean, my buddy just could not stop catching them. It was just like one of those special days. But then again, it's just like it was 49 degrees. Like, what do these fish really do? Like, what's really the thing that motivate them? Because
that's what was killing me. When I was on Seminole on day 2, a cold front came through. Water temperature was just going down and down from practice day. It had just gone down continuously. And on day 2 of the tournament was when the cold front was supposed to finish pushing through. We were supposed to have bluebird skies, and it ended up being cloudy all day. Anyway, so I'm fishing really slow. I was fishing a chatterbait, or a lipless crankbait, and just kind of yo-yoing it back. I got 1 fish on day 2 that way. Then I get back to the ramp and talk to these guys, and they're like, "Oh, I was burning a lipless crankbait back, or I was burning a chatterbait over the tops of grass." And it's just like these guys are moving these baits as fast as they could, while I'm sitting there working them as slow as I possibly could.
Yeah, following the rules, right? The weather tent, like it's weird. Like these rules, I'm not saying they're completely wrong, but it's like you can't really. There are no rules. Like it's a wild animal. It kind of just does what it wants, feeds when it wants to feed, and mates when it wants to, whatever spawns when it wants to spawn. But it's just. It's crazy like how like just like one day can just be like the most like it can be the most like off day, worst conditions, cold, freezing, and then you're catching you can't stop catching them. So it's But so going into Seminole, dude, that was a big one. Like, was that your first Hobie event?
That was my first Hobie event. Yeah.
What'd you think?
I loved it. I mean, I got up there and like halfway into my first day of practice, I was on, or not even halfway. I got out for practice, and then my plan was to check out 2 ramps. I had 1 day to practice on Friday, And I got to my first ramp where I'd found fish like a month ago, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna start here just to make sure there's some fish still here. I'm gonna hit these couple little spots, and I hit my first spot. 15 minutes, got my first fish, dropped it back in. Went to my second spot, third or fourth cast, caught another one, and then saw a bunch of fish coming up with it. So I'm like, all right, I got a solid school here. Drop that one back in and took off. So I knew I had some really good fish in that, and off of that first ramp. I went to the second ramp, and there was just absolutely nothing there. I didn't get bit. I didn't see any action. Didn't see anybody else catching fish. So with the one day of practice, I was just kind of like, all right, I'm going to this ramp, going all in here, and I kind of got to figure it out. And I got fired up on day one. Everybody took off and got to that spot, got to where they were schooled up, and I'm just sitting there waiting to start. 7 o'clock hit, lines in, and I start casting. 15 minutes goes by to get bit, kind of moved around a little bit, and then all of a sudden I got bit. And then 3 casts later, got another bite, and 3 casts later, got another bite. I'm sitting there with 3 fish before I think 8 or 9 o'clock, and I'm like, oh my god, like I was like just pumped to be pushing towards the limit on that day. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get my 5 here really early. I didn't get bit out of that school again the rest of the day. I spent another hour or 2 trying to get something to bite out of there. I'm like, they got to be here. They couldn't move far, but couldn't get anything else out of it. Ended up going up really shallow late in the day and ended up getting my 4th fish. And that was it. I fished like hell for my 5th fish on day 1, and I just couldn't get it. But it was a tough day for everybody. With it being my first Hobie event, I was pretty happy with the situation, with where I was sitting. I was half happy. Half of me, the competitive side of me, was like, damn, I needed that 5th one today. I really needed it. But at the same time, I was pretty happy to be able to go into day 2 in a position where I can still compete for a check. So like I still could have gotten into that 18th spot and gotten that last paycheck, which I think the guy who took 18th did only have 4 fish one day. So I was still fired up. I was still excited. Like if I could just dial it in a little bit more on day 2, figure out how to get that 5th bite, I might be looking at getting a check at the end of the day.
Well, what do you like? What was your? You only have one day of pre-fishing. Like, how many days do you think that you would like to have going into an event like that?
That is probably one of the biggest challenges that I faced.
I'm in a situation like you. I can't just I can't be like some of those other people and just go and spend a week or 2 there. So I got but I'm trying to figure out, because what I've learned is that one day is just not enough. But I know I don't need more than 3. So I'm like, it's a 2-3 days. Is that what? Because the thing is, I haven't done like a Hobie event yet, but I've done enough KBF events where it didn't really matter. It's like you had one day to win it, or one day to compete. That was it. Yeah. Before they started doing the double up, and so it wasn't like you only had to be on them like that one day. There wasn't like a second day, and like so there's more stuff that I'm thinking about. Because I'm getting ready to do these Hobie events this year. It's just like that's 2 days, and like one of the things that you said was like, one of your picks on Instagram was like the staying focused, and it's like, well, how can you stay focused when there's just so much you don't have, like so much like data you're missing to kind of make you like to kind of put you in those like that zone, because we all know like when you're on them, you got that feeling, but like one day I just don't see how that really gives me that like that warm and fuzzy in going into like an event like that. Because I mean, if everything goes to shit on day 1 and that was it, that was like I put all my eggs in that one basket. What do you do? Do you just guess and move across the lake? Do you just go home after day 1? I mean, there's so much to think about.
That is exactly what happened to me. Yeah. Like I said, there was 2 spots that I got a fish in off of that first ramp, and the first spot I caught a fish in on my day of practice, there was a guy sitting in that spot the entire time, both days, so I didn't even get a chance to go back there. So I had 1 spot, and it produced pretty decently, on day 1. I mean, I got 3 fish out of it. I wish that school would have lasted me a little bit longer. And then I went back there on day 2, and they just weren't there. And that had me sitting there just like, all right, where could these fish have gone? And this area that I was fishing, it was a deep hole, just on the front side of a grass line. And I'm sitting there telling myself, like, there's only so many places these fish could have moved to. They're not going to go any deeper. The only place they could have gone is up to this next grass line. And I'm sitting there like fighting with myself, like, all right, they got to be on the grass line. They might be here. They might have gone there. Like, the only place they could have gone is this grass line. And I still don't know why I didn't even listen to myself. I'm just like, well, I heard they were catching them in standing timber, so I'm going to go try to find some of that. And that's how I had to go in day 2. And I mean, that was a huge learning experience for me. First of all, just trusting my gut to really listen to myself, knowing that I know where these fish are.
Yeah, and that's been like to me, like, even with the one day tournaments, like, cause like here's the thing, like I'm not saying you shouldn't. Obviously pre-fishing is is important, but I don't know how important it is in a lot of ways, because I mean, if you find a spot that has fish, like, we know it produces, we know there's a reason why there's fish there, and we know, so if that place goes, does that mean I need to find another spot, or are those other spots going to be any better, or is it just me going out there knowing what I know about fishing, like you were doing, breaking it down? Like, I know that they couldn't move far; they had to move to these the second grass line. And it's like, I mean, that's like the important stuff, I think, that you sometimes forget about, instead of, like, because you get so caught up on eliminating water and you're doing these other things during pre-fish, you forget it. Like, there's the fishing aspect of this, where, like, there's a wild animal that's going to do what it's got to do based off, whatever's going on, the conditions that day. And so a lot of times, I had a conversation with a better angler one time. He's like, there's fish there. Like, I mean, like, it's not that going anywhere is going to make this any better. It's like, there's fish there. You just got to figure out how you're going to catch them, and if you can catch them. And it's just like, well, do I need a whole week of pre-fishing to figure that out? Because I don't know how many people have gone out there and pre-fished for like 2 weeks and come game day completely blow ass.
No,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's just completely suck. And it's just like, is it because the fish aren't there? Or is it because, like, something changed and you need to adjust and figure out how to catch the fish? Because, I mean, how many other times where you're not catching any fish and then someone comes in there and catches catches all of them? I mean, it's a weird like balance when you're trying to figure out how to do these tournaments, because what is the right way to go about this. And, like, that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out, like, when it comes to pre-fishing, and all these things, like, based off, my budget, based off how much time I can get away from work, and how much time the wife will let me go, and, like, what's the sweet number, and how much of it's mainly just to make myself, like, feel better going into, what I mean, like, how much of it just to give me like confidence, what I mean, like when you feel ready, like, oh, I've done everything I need to do to prepare for this. I pre-fished, I did this, I did that, I have a plan A, plan B, plan C. And now I can go into the tournament kind of with like getting ready for a fight. Like, did you do everything that you could to get ready for that event, or did you slack here? Those are the kind of things I think about a lot of times, because, I mean, like, what exactly are we doing? Because, I mean, it's just fishing. Like, it's finding the fish. It's always going to be the important thing. And so I don't know.
It's finding the fish, and, like, catching the fish is not the hard part. I mean, that's why guides get paid hundreds of dollars to take you out and hang out with you for 8 hours. It's not to show you how good of a fisherman you are. It's to bring you to the fish and so you can catch them. And really, that's the biggest challenge, I think, is just finding the fish, and then almost breaking down an area, because especially in Florida, it's like you pull out of the ramp and everything looks so good. There's vegetation everywhere. There's lily pads. There's hydrilla. There's Kissimmee grass. There's reeds. There's everything that you're like, oh, there should be fish there. There should be fish there. And you need to find a way to break down the map and, go on the map, say, okay, there's a point here. I can eliminate all this water that's just kind of like random. And even if there's some good grass or something there that you're like, oh, that looks good, you can refer back to your maps and be a little bit more like, all right, well, this one spot in this smaller area is probably, there may be fish all around, but this point or this landmark is most likely where they're going to be sitting, if they're in this area. And that was my approach for my one day of practice. Like I said, I knew there was fish in this area a month ago. If they were going to be there, I felt like they were going to be in one of like 10 waypoints that I ended up marking. I went to each one, spent about 15 to 20 minutes. Some of them had fish, some of them didn't. And even if I didn't catch one, some of the waypoints I just eliminated because they may not have had the grass that I thought they had. Some of them I just didn't like, which, And I think that's just a feeling for it too. But
I think that's kind of like my strategy now, really. Because I feel like the most I'll probably really get is like maybe 2 days, and I think that the most important thing is finding those things where that like areas that could be potential, not necessarily you get down there and you find them and you start catching fish. I mean that would be great too, but like really getting up there and find those grass line, find the ledges, find the brush piles, finding out why this area would be good for. Because I don't have a lot of time to go out there and just cover tons and tons of water.
Yeah.
So, but like what I've been doing, I just haven't been successful at it yet. But it's just like when you look at the map, like I like this area. It has this, it has that. And you do your Google Earth, you do your whatever. You look at your 6 different maps. And you're like, okay, there's no reason why there wouldn't be fish here. You get out there, you confirm it on your graph, and that's about it. That's about all I can really do. Hopefully I catch a fish or two, but it's just not one of those things where I can just go from the north and the south end of the lake and not only that, but like a lot of times I don't know what's the point of that. A lot of times, like
what's the point? What's even the point of practicing when the fish might not be there or might not be eating?
I mean, it's like what are you gonna do? Like, the fish aren't here, so now I'm gonna drive all the way up to the north end and cause I've done that before. In tournaments where like oh, no fish are here. Well, I'm gonna go to the north end because I caught fish there 2 months ago, and then I drive up to the north end and then realizing the water temps are the same. The cloud coverage is the same. All these things are the same. And so unless I'm going to go to that area and fish it differently than I did the other area, I don't really know what was the reason of me really moving. Because I could have saved that time and really broken down that area that I was in originally. And cause I feel like a lot of times, like once you find like a pattern, that pattern it's probably consistent throughout most of the lake anyways.
I agree with that.
Depending on the size of it. And Grant, I know there's certain honey holes, but I don't have time to find those honey holes. I'm not, and things like that. So I don't know. It's just
something I noticed down here in Florida, at least for me, is during the spawn, if you can find the areas where they're going to be spawning, you kind of work your way out from those.
Yeah.
And with the spawn, you can find those landmarks a little bit easier, I think. When you start getting into the really hot summer months where they're going to be an offshore structure and you got to literally go out on your graph and search for it, that's going to be a lot more difficult. But when it's pre-spawn, spawn, post-spawn, if you've got a general idea of where they're going into, and then you're going to know where they're going to be coming out of, and you kind of dial it in that way, or kind of eliminate water that way.
Right, but also it gives you like a starting point. Like I kind of like that's something I was kind of thinking about too. Like where they, especially during that time of the year, like where they want to go, where they want to end up. And so like they're either going to be there or they're going to be somewhere like trying to get there. And so starting from there and then like working your way out, that seems like for me like that's like a better approach than what I've been doing in the past. Or like even during like the hot the summer, like where do they eat in the morning? And then starting from there and then working your way out. Because I mean, that to me, it just seems like that would be like the most rational way to go about this, because we know where they want to be at certain points, and so they have to come there. So like it's almost like I don't know, like tracing them back to where they might be. I don't know. Because when it gets out to offshore, it gets a little, it's a different beast. But still,
I'll tell you what my struggle's always been is it's not finding the areas that they should be. I think. And, sometimes I think I give the weather too much credit, and sometimes I don't think I give the weather enough credit. I mean, it's just like I was telling you, they should have been moving super slow on day 2 on Seminole, and everybody was burning their baits back. But one of the biggest mistakes that I've always made, and something I'm really trying to, I mean, even just recently, it's kind of come to light, and I've realized it is every time a cold front comes through, I think that is going to completely – they're like, oh, if a cold front comes through, it's going to push the fish back off. It's going to back them down. If they're on beds, they're going to get pushed off. And I think that means they're going all the way back to start. It's like the fish are working their way up this ladder. They get knocked all the way back down to wherever they began. And really, no, they're probably moving 100 yards away or less.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, I just struggle with that.
Yeah. You always think it's like big moves. It's not always big moves. Sometimes it's just very small, subtle, 100 feet, like whatever. Like I have the same thing too. Like when you expect like the front to push them back, and then it literally they found like whether it be a rock pile or a secondary point to just hang out until things get more like the conditions get more to what they want, and they start moving right back up. But yeah, it's I think like I was talking to like my last guest, and I was like, I feel like human beings get in more pattern, like more focus on a pattern, or more focus on like what's going on with the elements than the fish do. You know what I mean? I think the fish are very simple. Like they want what? They want food and they want shelter. They want things like that. And we're all like, well, no, it's the water temps are 50 degrees and the sunshine's doing this and these, so they got to be here. And then like, I don't know if that's true anymore. Like I've never been a fish before.
If you think about your soft plastics, think about how many different colors of plastics these fish see every day. You're gonna come back to the ramp and somebody's got them on June bug, somebody's got them on black and blue, somebody's getting them on green pumpkin, and it's like, all right, does the color matter, or are they just like, oh, food?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Like I've caught them in weird places on weird things. To the point now, I'm like, do we really know what we're doing or what? Like to me, it just seems like when you look at the guys who've been really successful, there's like one thing they all have in common. For a lot of them have in common, like someone like Russ Snyder, and some of his crew, they're all guides. They all got like they're all like in the profession of finding fish or bringing people to fish. I'm not saying that like like they're not honed in on like certain weights and colors, but I guarantee that they could take anything and go to those areas and catch fish. A lot of times I think that's the thing. It's like you said earlier. It's
time on the water.
Fish. Yeah.
If you get that time on the water to get confidence in the fact that they don't care about what color your bait is, then you're good to go. But I think that if you only get 1 day a week or 2 days a week to get out on the water, then you're going to start catching them on a like golden black lipless was my go-to lipless crankbait on Seminole. I would not change it no matter what, and that's the one I believed in. That's what I had confidence in. Some guys got them on red, some guys got them on sexy shad,
right? But I mean, the same thing happened to me. Like I always felt like I had to have like, especially during like the early spring, like that when the pre-spawn, like I had to have like my square bill had to be red.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what that is. Like but I was like I had to have it on there. But then like one time I didn't have the red, or they weren't hitting the red, and I threw a whatever, and I'm like, they're hitting that too. Like it's just I don't know. It's like you said, like you said, you're comfortable with that. That's your confidence, lure. That's got nothing to do with the fish, though. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've been fortunate. I've spent a lot of time with a good buddy of mine. He used to fish the Costa series. He fishes some BFLs and ABAs down here now, and he's taught me a lot just with like pretty much like a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about now is me just regurgitating a lot of the stuff that he's taught me over the past year or two, and it's he's just always telling me to simplify everything as much as you possibly can. You don't need 10,000 colors. You don't necessarily need 10,000 different lures. If they're going to eat one thing, they're probably going to eat something else that works very similarly, and like he'll compare a chatterbait and a chatterbait and a lipless crankbait. It's like, if they're going to eat a lipless crankbait, why wouldn't they eat a chatterbait? I mean, they're both vibrating, and a lot of times he's right. Like if he'll throw one and I'll throw the other just to have something different tied on, and we'll both be getting bit.
Right.
So it's like you said, as fishermen, we put so much emphasis and we build up all these different things, and like they try to explain every action or every movement that the fish is going to make, and we have no idea. Like they can go do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah. Well, I think like one of the things that I really do like to hone in on, though, instead of like focusing on some of the things I do, but like boat positioning and casting, like I think those are like the things that probably really hurt me during a tournament. It's not necessarily what I'm throwing, but it's how and where and what positioning am I throwing it from. You know what I mean? And I think that's I still don't get it. Why do I need to be at this and hitting it at this, and which way is the fish going to be positioning itself? It's like I have no idea how you people like learn that kind of shit. Like sit there and like learn like how the fish is going to position itself here and there. And
that picked up on just like a little bit, but more so in the summer when they were really looking for that cover. And as far as like an angle of your retrieve, I've never really noticed a difference. I can see certain instances where if you're trying to bring something over a hump, there's gonna be fish on the other side waiting to eat that bait. there may be a time where like you want to throw it directly at a point because that's what, like the fish are just feeding straight off of that point, waiting for bait to get pushed up onto it. But I mean, or if you're talking about cover, it may just be where the shade is. And, like you can have one lily pad and, at 9 a.m. you might throw it to the left side of it. And at 3 p.m. you might throw it to the right side of it.
Yeah, but those are like the 100 little things that, if make you a better angler.
Yeah.
That's
and that's another thing. Again, it's just time on the water, and like you start to notice these little things that like the average fisherman or the occasional fisherman won't pick up on. They're like, oh, there's a rock, I'm gonna cast at it, and then it's like, okay, well, where's the sun at? And
sun at what time? What's the water? And that's when the mistakes all start. Yeah, dude, it's dude, fishing's so hard, dude. Like I've done a lot of things. I've done a lot of challenging things. I've done a lot of physically challenging things, but fishing is the one thing that just like, Jesus Christ, like, does it ever get easier? Does it ever like click? Does it ever, but and when it does, but there's still so much more you got to learn because everyone else is learning. Everyone else is getting better. And you can't just
everybody's always learning. And it's funny because it's like you can suck and suck, and then all of a sudden you have a great day and you're like, that was easy. I'm gonna go do this again next week.
Yeah. But it's I don't know. It's a tough sport, but Seminole, like how did the second day, like did things change dramatically? Were you like how did you figure out? I know it was tough. I know you're having a hard time staying with it. Like, I mean, explain that part. To me, that's like the worst part about this. Like, a KBF event, it's over. 8 hours, you're done. A Hobie event, I think when I think about doing, like, let's just say you did really good day one, you got to do really good day two as well now, and trying to stay focused and trying to keep that mind sharp, and who knows how tired you are, who knows how many days you've been pre-fishing, how you've been sleeping, all those kind of things that probably play a part in it. But how rough is it on day two?
Dude, even just starting with getting off the water after day one, like you're excited. I was excited. I had an okay day, a good enough day to keep me competitive. And I'm like, I got to go back to the hotel and get ready for tomorrow. And, and my hotel was an hour away. I wanted to grab some dinner with some buddies, got back to the hotel at 6. I sat in the bed. I'm just like, I'm exhausted. I just want to go to sleep right now. Right. Got my stuff around, got rigged up, loaded the truck, and, dragged myself out of bed in the morning on day two. I was excited, but I was just beat. I'm pedaling around. Like, again, it's obviously all human powered, pedals or paddle. So, I mean, it's even more exhausting than a KBF event would be, because I'll go out with a Bixby usually. But then getting out there on day two, I thought for sure I'd get a few out of my school of fish early in the morning. And when they weren't there, I just went I went straight to panic mode. I knew what I needed to do. And then I decided, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go. And I messed around doing some dumb stuff for like an hour, just stuff that is like, why are you even doing this? Of all the things you could be doing, I look back and I'm like, why did I even try that?
The part that gets me, like when I do start panicking, and I start thinking about all the things, like if you're doing, the first thing that hits my mind is like getting my ass back on the road and getting that long ride back home. I get there a lot faster if I get out of the water right now. You know what I mean?
Get that way. Like I get frustrated, and I just get very like, I don't know. Like I'm just start grabbing every rod. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna cast this a couple times. No, they don't want that. I want them to try this, and I'm just thinking and like giving myself a reason to try all these different things, and then finally, like I said, after like an hour of just throwing random stuff that I should have never been throwing, I just stopped and tried to calm down for a minute. And I said, all right, what have you heard? What do you think you need to do? And I was just like, all right, I've heard they've been catching them in standing timber. I need to get to, I knew where there was some timber. I was like, all right, I need to go to this area. I think that's my best shot. That's the only place it's going to be retaining heat. There's going to be fish up against these trees if I can find them. So I went to this one area and I start paddling up, and I actually like stumbled across this area on accident, and this was also probably one of the most discouraging things that ever happened. So I'm going up this creek, and I turn a corner, and there's just this beautiful field of trees standing up in the water. And I'm just sitting there like, that's it. That's where I'm going to go get my limit today. And there's two kayakers up ahead of me that looked like they were just working up the bank. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. I got to beat these guys to this spot. And as I was getting closer, I noticed they started speeding up a little bit. And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna race now. I got to get up there. Like I want to get to these trees and fishing before they can. And I get up to the last guy, and he goes, "Hey man, I'm in first place right now. Can you just stay out of this area?" I'm like, what? Like, I turned the corner. I saw these trees, and I'm like, that's what I need. That's where I'm gonna get him. I had all this confidence. This dude, Howell, he ended up winning, and I watched him catch all of his fish. But it was a pretty big area. Once he said that, like, I was like, all right, man, tell me where you want to fish, and I'll stay out of your way. I'm like, I can't. Like I said, it was a big enough area that we could both be fishing it. So I'm like, I still want to get my limit. I'll let you fish what you want to fish, but I want to try to get into some of this action over here.
Yeah, that's tough one, right?
Yeah, he was in first place. He's fishing for almost $10,000. And
yeah, I would let him have it. But at the same time, like, what if we were close to first place? What if I was like in the money still? It's just like, I don't know. Like, what's the rule on that? What's if
I was fighting for first place and he wasn't in that spot, I would race him to it. Yeah, that's my approach to it. Like, you're not in it, then it's fair game.
Right.
And that's how I would handle it. If I was in 8th place and he was in first place and I had a chance to actually catch up to him, I'm competing with that guy.
That's also saying that we're not cheaters who watched him fish there before. That's like saying like we had no idea what that spot was. We're being honest, and we're like, we've never watched someone catch fish from there or whatever, whatever.
Right. Yeah. It's not. Oh, I was sitting a little further up the lake and saw him.
Yeah. Or you saw him day one hammering them or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I turned this corner, and this was the first time I had gone up this creek. I didn't even realize that they were fishing those trees because they were kind of working up the bank. So, I was just like, okay, I got to get in there. But yeah, like I said, if I was really competitive, competing for a first place prize money, I would have.
There'd at least be a different conversation, but
yeah.
No, but that's like if I'm not the money, like, and this guy's in first, like, dude, go crush it. I'm gonna go over here and go for myself or something.
Which is pretty much what happened. I kind of followed him in there at basically, I guess, the mouth of this area. It really opened up, and then it really bottlenecked down. So he kind of worked his way up the right side and worked my way up the left, and it was probably 10:30 or so, and I got bit. That was my one bite of the day, and like I said, my confidence got back up as soon as I saw this area. I'm like, okay, I can get some fish out of here. And I got bit. It was a 19 and a half, I think, 19 and a quarter. And I'm like, this is it. I can get 4 more bites like this today. And then I watched Howell go up, and like he went right up to where it bottlenecked. I think he just wanted to make sure I didn't get into this one area because he had fished there on day 1 too, I guess. Yeah. And so he knew where they were really concentrated, it seemed. So I watched him go up to where it bottlenecked, and it was just one after another, after another, after another. And then he'd do a lap, and then he came back. He's like, hey, can you let this spot rest? I'm going to come back to it. I'm like, all right, yeah. Like at that point when he was getting out of it, I'm like, I got nothing to work for right now. That spot's all you. I'm not going to mess with it. So he let it rest, and then he comes back and he pulled in a 23 or 23 and a half, and he was on fire. It was cool watching him fish too. Knowing that he was in first place, it was cool just just to watch it happen. Right. But obviously, I wish I was the one catching fish.
Shit, dude. So like. At the end of this, like, what are some of the things that you wish you would, or some things you want to do differently now? Do you plan on doing any more Hobie events this year?
I'm gonna try.
Or how about just any national tournaments? Period, like KBF, Hobie, Bass, whatever.
Honestly, KBF is Hobie is probably the closest that I'll be able to get to, which is gonna be at Hartwell. in May. So that's the one I'm shooting to get out to. And for that one, I'm going to try to get up there for a week. If I can do it, I'm going to try to get up there to practice for 3 days before, and then get on the water for the tournament. And going into that, I'm going to have a little bit better idea of how I want to break the lake down and kind of explore new waters. The first time I went to practice on Seminole, I spent 3 days on the water, and I covered probably about 30 miles of water. And after that weekend, I looked back and I was like, I didn't learn a damn thing about this lake. I covered a ton of water, and that was my plan going in. I did what I wanted to do, and I realized I barely spent any time fishing. I didn't learn anything. I caught fish in that one area where I ended up catching them on tournament day, but I need to be able to put together a better plan, or kind of just like what I'd already talked to you about, is be better at eliminating some water. So that I can go to.
I don't know what that really means a lot of times. I mean, I know what people when they say that eliminating water, but I'm like, how do you know this is bad? You know what I mean? Like, because it's like you go there, you say, oh, well, this is a bad spot. Is it though? Like, what did you like? How much time did you really spend on there? I mean, I guess it depends on how you like to fish and how you would. There's got to be there's got to be that, right? Like how what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses, how do you like to fish, and I think that kind of helps you determine what eliminating water really means to you. You know what I mean? Like if I find I like to fish a lot of grass. If I find grass, that's good for me. Even if I don't really, if I'm not catching fish, there's probably a reason why I'm not catching fish. I don't know. But when people say eliminating water, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I don't really know what eliminating water means to me, because it's just like, are we just trying to find, are we going out there just saying this is not my strength, so I don't need to fish this spot, or there's no fish here?
I think a lot of it could also be is if let's say you got this area, this big-ish area of water that you're like, all right, everything in this big-ish area looks really good. It's finding something different about that area. Like, let's say you're in a big hydrilla, you're a big area with a ton of hydrilla sitting there, and you're like, all right, this grass looks amazing. I mean, if it's not all the exact same depth, it may just be finding, a hump in the hydrilla. It may be finding some kind of depth change.
Find little subtle differences and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Finding a pocket. And I think if everything looks the exact same, you're not in the right spot. And you may not be able to visually see it, but finding something that's not right is where you're probably going to find the fish bunched up a little bit more.
Right. Yeah. So are there other things? Is one thing that I like to do for tournaments is I think everyone's got there's certain things, whether it's the how many days you pre-fish, what you're eating, like all the things that goes into someone's whatever system, I guess. Like mine, it's I have to be wherever I'm going to launch. I have to be camping near that spot. I have to be close to that spot. I don't do that whole hour away. Maybe that's one of my downfalls. So whenever I decided that when I'm doing a tournament, I look at the map, I find out where I want to go, and usually, I'm not picking little small areas, but maybe the top quarter of the lake, whatever. It's close to where, and I find a campsite. I got to be close there. In fact, I want to be almost living on the ramp for 2 days. Whether it's a park or whatever. And things like that, and then I gotta have, I can't do Airbnbs. I have to camp out. I don't know what it is about that. I just have to do that. This is how I do things. There's these little things that I gotta do to make me feel comfortable going into the tournaments. And I don't want to drive an hour in the morning. I want to get to that launch fast before anyone else gets there. I want to make my prep. I'm here for all kinds of things, little things I like to do.
I don't mind the drive at all. I mean, I'll leave at 1 or 2 in the morning and drive for 3 or 4 hours to get to the ramp at 6 o'clock. And so, I mean, I don't know. It's almost like a chance to just kind of get up, take my time, eat some breakfast, drink my coffee, and
I'm always drinking beer. I'm always drinking beer the night before, so I got to have a few hours. I can't be getting on the road at 1 o'clock in the morning if my last beer was at 11 o'clock that night. So I mean, I gotta have a few hours. But yeah,
man, I can't drink nights before. I'll limit myself to 3 beers, and if I have any more than that, I'm gonna wake up feeling hungover, and just because it's usually so early.
This year the goal is to do these tournaments sober. I'm not gonna do anymore. I'm gonna do any more. It's really weird because most of the time I camp out by myself, and so it's not like I'm partying and impressing anyone. But you get around a fire, you start opening up some beers, and it just they say no, like 6 of them are gone. You're like, well, shit, I probably need to go to bed.
Yeah.
But I think like the biggest thing for me is like I hate the drive. Like when you get off the water, because when I did this one at Santee Cooper, like it took us like 45 minutes to get back to where we were staying, and like I don't know, it's just like I don't like those drives. I want it to be as easy as possible. Like everything else, everything besides the fishing, I want it to be super simple and easy.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are like that, where they just do not want to do that drive at all. But I mean, like I said, I first of all, I can't afford a hotel room, and I don't want to like pack my stuff up that early in the morning either. So that's what I have. I would rather wake up and have a long drive than wake up at like 5 a.m, pack up my tent because I'll get off the water before or after checkout, and have to pack up at 5 a.m. and worry about making breakfast. Did I forget anything? And I think for me, that would just add a little bit too much stress. If I had one of those like rooftop tents, have you seen those like on the trucks?
I have something similar, but it's for the back of my truck. It's not a rooftop. It's like I can set my tent. But the thing is, you got to take if I got to travel to a boat launch, that's where I put my truck at, or my. If I had a trailer, it'd work out perfect. But
right, but you got to empty everything out of it before you set that tent up.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I've seen those things are sweet too.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, like you're off the ground. You can put your little sleep pad down so the truck doesn't hurt your back. It was good. It was good sleeping. But yeah, I don't know. To me, I feel like I just like to have things a certain way, whether it's crazy or not. But I feel like doing these tournaments, like because you're doing so much pre-fishing, you're doing so much traveling. Like the easier I can make it, the better. And that comes down to like food. Sleep, whatever it is, like just make it as simple as possible, because it's not easy. Like fishing like 4 days in a row, whether it's hot or cold, whatever, it's all the same. There's all these different elements. It's like I know like after the tournament, like I don't want to fish for like another few days. I'm done. Like I'm shut out.
Oh yeah, you're wiped out.
The ride home, I'm just exhausted. And it's just from fishing. It's not like we were doing like a CrossFit tournament or something like that, like it's just fishing. But like the ride home, I'm sore, my back hurts, I'm tired, just beat up.
Kayak fishing though, especially if you're going with the pedals and paddle, like if you got a motor, you are going to get worn out so much less than somebody who's pedaling and paddling everywhere. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it takes a lot of energy, not even just to pedal or paddle, but also to stabilize yourself throughout the day. These kayaks nowadays are super stable and easy to get into. But I mean, if you're somebody who's getting in a kayak for the first time, I don't care what kayak you're getting in. It could be a $200 Walmart kayak or the best Hobie out there, and you're going to struggle to find that balance. Just because we've had so much more experience doesn't mean our body's not working to stabilize ourselves, even in these stable kayaks. So
right.
Even when it feels easy, you're still working hard. Yeah, it's still not.
All right, well, cool, man. We'll wrap this thing up, man. We've been on for almost 50 minutes. But so what are you looking at? Like, what are you looking at for 2021? I know the season's just started. For some of us, the season hasn't even started yet. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Anything you want to do different this year?
So I'm really just fishing as much as I can. So I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to doing it. I'm hoping to get at least one more Hobie event in if I can. If I get the time off work, if I can, afford to get out there, I'm going to do everything I can to do that. Anything else I can do, I'm going to. But I'm also going to be fishing in the KFL with the Florida Copperheads. So actually, I'll be on Conrad's team. So hopefully, I won't be getting my head chopped off.
So you're definitely doing traveling with that, right? That's a lot of work, isn't it? That series. I gotta get Greg on here so I can actually talk to him about it. That's a lot of work, right? You guys can do a few traveling events, right?
So yeah, so it's the regular season is gonna be 3 home events and 3 travel events. And the way we've set up our team is so that traveling's tough. For somebody to travel to all 3 events is gonna be tough. I'm definitely gonna travel to 1. If I can make it to 2, I will, but I doubt it. So really, we've kind of almost put together a little bit of a cycle where we're going to make sure we've got a field for every away game and every home game. And we're fishing at home. We're fishing to our strengths. We chose some lakes that we're confident in. So I mean, it'll be good though. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah,
we got a lot of really talented guys from down here in Florida fishing.
Yeah, you got one guy who can't afford to lose. So.
Yeah,
Poor,
you got that
and then
right.
he's got to win. Yeah, I need to get Greg on here and actually talk about that. I mean, like, I just haven't really been paying much attention, and I realized I saw it coming out, but I didn't think too much about it. And then, like people kept giving me these annoying teams kept asking me to follow them. I'm like, all right, I'll follow you.
Yeah.
And then I started putting it together, and I started seeing who were on these teams. I'm like, oh shit, this is different. This is different than I thought it was. This is an actual whatever. And so I looked more into it. I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have paid attention. So I gotta get Greg on here and really talk about it, because it looked like it's gonna be like a lot of people are buying into it. It looks like it's gonna be a really good time.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the rosters of all the teams that are involved with this, there's some big names that are going to be competing in it. So I mean, it's going to be competitive. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I think the most exciting part of it for me is just going to have that different format. Like it's going to be really cool to see what a team setting is like. Like if Conrad decides he just doesn't want to have a good day of fishing one day, I can be out there catching all the 22 and 23 inchers.
Yeah, like that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
but cool, man. We'll definitely have to bring Greg on here. But dude, is there anyone you want to
sure.
thank or acknowledge, whatever, before we end this to make fishing easier for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank Vibe Kayaks for always getting me on the water, helping me out in so many different ways. I've been with them for about a year now, and it's been an incredible partnership, and they've always treat me so well. Mr. B Lure Company, same thing. It's a great relationship. They make some incredible lures, great jigs.
I gotta see their chatterbaits.
Yeah, I love their chatterbaits. I mean, definitely beats paying $25 for the jackhammer if you don't have to. Awesome stuff. Also want to thank Angler, another company. They're great to work with. They have put together a couple one-on-one tournaments and some other social media stuff that's been fun to work with them with. And Kayak Cushion. They actually do you have a Kayak Cushion?
Not yet. I don't even have my kayak yet, though, man. So
Dude, I just got it, and it is. I cannot believe it. I never thought that that you can make the seat more comfortable, and it is awesome. I don't even put it under my butt. I actually put it up against the back of my seat, and man, like my back does not hurt at all at the end of the day. Like I can go nonstop.
Yeah, I'll have to check them out. But well, man, Jake, I really appreciate you coming on. Like, I like to talk to people about, like, I hate talk like it's fun to talk to everyone that just gets first place all the time, but it's like, dude, I want to talk to the guys who didn't do that well or had some, like, whatever. And so appreciate you coming on talking about that. I wish you good luck with everything else going on this year, but I'm definitely going to talk to you sometime later this season. The season's just started, so tons of shit that needs to happen. So
yeah. I mean, Seminole was it was an awesome experience, and that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. My first Hobie event, it was a great experience. Got to compete against the best in the kayak fishing world, and it was exciting. It was intimidating, and I'm proud to have accomplished a respectable showing, I'll call it. But I'm really looking forward to really digging in and competing with everybody moving forward.
All right, cool, man. Well, thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me on.